Good morning all. So we're getting the chance today to actually celebrate British Science Week. Now the keen Wide Awake Club members in the school will notice that the date has been and gone. However, we were actually using science during British Science Week to use the test kits and make sure that we were coming back to school safely. So today really is the first chance we've had to actually celebrate British Science Week. So what British Science Week hopes to do is raise awareness, spark enthusiasm and celebrate science, engineering, technology and maths, and raise awareness of how these things have really improved our lives. I think we've just had the strangest year that anyone's had in this country for the last 70 years. And over the last year, we've really relied on science to try and keep us safe and try to enable us to resume our normal way of life. So the scientists you can actually see on the screen have been on our telly, advising us pretty much every day. My favourite one, for instance, is Deborah Birx, and Deborah Birx, of course, was the scientist that was in the room when Donald Trump actually suggested injecting detergents into people to try and cure them of coronavirus. Luckily, we had a scientist there on hand. Now, what I've asked my colleagues to do, and some of the other teachers in the school, is to pick something that has really inspired them in science over the last 10 years, okay? Something that really keeps them excited and enthusiastic about the subject. Right, I first saw Super Mouse in 2007, and when I actually watched the video of Super Mouse, I couldn't believe what I was actually seeing. So Super Mouse was basically put on a treadmill alongside a normal mouse, and the normal mouse pretty soon has to stop sprinting after 0.2 kilometers, whereas Super Mouse can actually sprint for 5 kilometers. Can sprint for 5 kilometers. Human being would struggle to sprint 200 meters. Super Mouse can sprint 5 kilometers. That's incredible. It's about from here to Chippenham. Now this was done by just adding one gene to the DNA of Super Mouse. What's surprising was this also made super mice live longer and more aggressive. So this is an example of where science, by adding a gene, can actually change the features of an organism quite markedly. Whereas the bull that you can see has got has effectively made double muscle, has got twice the muscle that you would normally expect to see in a bull. And this has been done not by adding a gene, but by actually, in effect, removing a gene from the bull's DNA that normally limits how much that the muscle that bull will put on. Right. Now, what's exciting about this is, these examples are, 10 plus years. However, there's a big new development in genetic engineering, where now you've got this CRISPR-Cas9 technology, and this basically allows us to genetically modify things much more easily than we could more than 5 years ago. So easily, and you can buy kits to actually attempt the genetic modification at home for $150, which is incredible. That people are literally trying at home to genetically modify dogs, okay, and various other strange things. Whether that's right or wrong, well, that's for you to actually decide. But what's exciting about this technology is it's already been used to greatly enhance people's lives. So, for instance, there's a boy in the USA who would have gone blind because of the DNA that he was actually born with, and scientists have successfully changed that DNA so that now that boy has retained his sight. That's what still excites me, genetic engineering.
This is Michael Phelps wearing laser swimsuit during Olympic Games in 2008. Why this fascinates me? Well, it's the story behind the making of the suits. The suit used was made using new nanotechnology to create almost streamlined, reduced drag and increased buoyancy. Because of this, almost every swimming record was broken by the swimmers who wore the swimsuit. Of course, a year later, the swimsuits were banned. The fact remains that today athletes are getting better, stronger, faster, even though the records set in 2008 have not been broken to this day, and we're talking about 12 years later. And that's science for you folks. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Miss Gould and I have a real interest in animal science, and I'm particularly interested in how we can use new up and coming technology in order to improve conservation. And one way in which people are starting to do this is by using drones. And I thought this was a really exciting development in the area of wildlife conservation. Now, as you all know, wildlife habitats have been under threat from various kinds of human activities, and the natural environment is changing all the time. However, with advanced technologies, it's hoped that we will be able to preserve and rebuild the environment in innovative ways. Drones allow us to analyse and respond to global biodiversity loss and climatic changes, and scientists can now capture more comprehensive and complete data, both more frequently and more securely. Now, you might know that various countries have special designated zones within national parks and wildlife reserves where strict laws are in place to prosecute offenders. However, lack of resources makes tracking illegal activities difficult. So drone technology can help human rangers dramatically increase the range and effectiveness of their surveillance activities without having to physically deploy rangers to various locations. So I'm excited to see the future and how these technologies will help us to preserve wildlife around the world within different national parks and wildlife reserves.
When I was asked to think about a scientific discovery that excites me, I thought immediately about the Thermic reaction. Now, it's definitely not a recent discovery. It was discovered in 1893, so before even I was born. So definitely not recent, but it excites me for two reasons. Reason number one is the fact that it's a real application of science being useful, helping to improve the world in which we live. And the way in which this one particularly improved the way in which we live is it enabled engineers to go out and fix railway tracks. Railways run for miles and miles in the countryside between towns and villages, and actually fixing them in such remote areas is difficult because what you need is molten iron, and to get iron to melt you need a really high temperature. So the easiest way was actually to take iron oxide and aluminium and a fuse and a splint and get a reaction to occur out in the countryside that produced the molten iron, which could then be used to mend the railway track. So that's the first reason that the experiment really excites me, because it's really useful. The other reason is that I just like doing it in class. So that's the bit I'm going to show you now, is me enjoying the Thermic reaction. So I set fire to the magnesium fuse. I've got the mixture of iron oxide and aluminium. And now I have got molten iron at around 1500 degrees Celsius inside my tin. A good reaction.
I'm really excited by this nature conservation project that is happening on an old farm in Sussex. The farmer couldn't afford to farm any longer, and so they turned it over to the wildlife. And it's called rewilding because they've let nature take charge. And they've introduced grazing species to keep the ecosystem in balance. But other than that, they've left it alone. And it's had amazing results. So they have discovered that the soil that was dead and degraded has become alive with wildlife and is locking in carbon dioxide. They've discovered that the river no longer floods as much. They've discovered that species that are almost extinct elsewhere in this country are making a comeback and thriving. And scientists are studying this project, and they've learnt new things about how species behave, how actually some species that we thought were woodland species prefer living in scrublands. So it's changing scientists' understanding of ecology. And I think this project is really exciting because I think it is one of the answers to the problems that we face in this country and indeed this world of flooding, of our species of animals and plants declining, and also of climate change. And I think rewilding could be one of the solutions.
You asked me for one thing in science that excites me. I actually came up with two. The first one is nanobubble treatment, which I looked into in the sixth form with a student who was applying for biomedical engineering, which is a great career. This is where the cells, the bubbles go to the cells for specific cancer treatment and come alive with ultrasound. And the other one is prosthetic limbs in sport, enabling people to compete where they wouldn't otherwise have been able to.
One of the most exciting bits of modern physics is space exploration, and this is the latest Mars rover, which is called Perseverance, and it's currently firing a laser at rocks to then try to analyze the chemicals that's inside there. Now, the issue I have with it is that NASA has spent millions sending this to Mars, and this is how the laser sounds. And everyone knows that a laser should go pew, 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 pew. So clearly, they didn't even bother getting the laser right. Now, the other cool thing about Mars is that this is the latest of the space rockets to be tested by Elon Musk. And this is the SN10. And it blasts off, and it's huge. And the whole point is going to carry another vessel, which will then detach when it gets high enough in the atmosphere. And that will send off people to Mars. But to make spaceflight cheaper than what this does is when it gets high enough, it then turns off its booster and it just drops. It just drops back down, and it just drops horizontally. And you think, oh, that looks like quite like it's going to crash. And then it gets to a certain point, and then it just turns its boosters back on, and it should self-right. Now, these have been tested on small rocks before, but nothing this big. So this was the latest test. You can see this is real footage, and as it's coming down, it almost self-rights. It gets to a point where it's almost vertical. So this was classed as a successful mission, even though it came down a little bit too hard because one of the boosters didn't quite work. And while we're watching it, the whole thing just does this. And quite luckily, they get to test how well it blows up. So there, the whole thing just exploded. So it's millions of pounds up in smoke. But when you're Elon Musk, you can afford to blow stuff up. And this is the Elon Musk project, so SpaceX, and his goal is to try to go to Mars. I think he wants to go there, but the idea is if you can get people on Mars, then you can create your own new civilization. So his idea is he's going to try to get there within 15 years or so. So whether that's possible or not, I don't know. But this is what Mars could look like in the future, and you could be living in one of those little space domes, being a Martian. Boom, physics.